Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening to our Funny Women event. My name is Vicky Stevens. I am one of our business growth enablers for the NatWest, and I'm also joined this evening with my colleague, Emilia Siborska, who is one of our relationship managers for the Fenland area. At NatWest, we want to be the bank of choice for women. We've done a phenomenal amount of work to support the female entrepreneurship space. In 2019, our CEO, Alison Rose, released the Rose Review, which was an independent study backed by the Treasury, and it was to delve into the understanding of why females aren't starting and growing businesses as quickly as men. One of the key findings from that report is that if females were to start and grow their businesses at the same rate as our male opponents, that we would actually contribute an extra 250 billion to the UK economy. So we're currently working through our initiatives from the report currently, and I have had the amazing opportunity of working directly on that through our Expert in Residence programme, which effectively means that we, the bank, are linking with external organisations such as local enterprise partners to really engage with female entrepreneurs and find ways in which we can help support them grow and scale. We'll continue to do this work, and you can find out more around the report on the DirectGov website. Equally so, we can always share some information after this session today. One of the other things that we're extremely proud of as well is that we are one of the founders of the Investing in Women's Code, along with 60 other banks and financial institutions.
Thank you, Vicky. Good evening, everyone. Earlier this year, Alison Rose, the only female CEO of a high street UK bank, also announced our new purpose: to be the champion of UK business and the biggest supporter of startups in the UK and Republic of Ireland, by helping to create 50,000 new businesses by 2023 and also supporting 500,000 people on the journey. As part of that, we aim that 60% of that support goes towards women. As part of that commitment, we will continue to organize events like this to support women in business. We know that this year has been very challenging for all of us and constant changing due to COVID-19, and we once again partnered with Funny Women to bring you skills and techniques from the world of the stand-up comedy world to help us navigate through these uncertain times with greater resilience and some humor. I hope you enjoy today's event. Over to Lynne from Funny Women.
Thank you so much, both of you. Lovely to be here. Absolutely lovely. So today's event is all about using this space, both physically and visually. And it will help you to make some personal impact. Now, we've all been affected differently by the ups and downs of the pandemic, and new working practice may well have knocked your confidence or eaten into the time that you normally spend on your family, friends, hobbies, indeed anything normal that we normally do. So we've made sure that our time tonight is packed chock full of some great advice to get the best out of yourself. Now, some of you may have used this time of working from home to start a new business, or found different strategies to juggle a role in a larger organisation with the homeschooling, or indeed, please no, baking sourdough bread. If anyone says that to me again, I shall go mad. Either way, virtual reality is here to stay, and at least for the foreseeable future. And we're going to be continuing to use this as part of our working practice way beyond the current lockdowns and social distancing. So the ability to adapt and pivot has been critical to those of us who need to earn a living. That's whether you work for yourself or for somebody else. The winners instinctively know how to improvise and think on their feet, even though we can't see our feet at the moment. And this is still the best metaphor for being open to the possibility. It's all about the power of saying yes. Now, it's easy to use the stresses of workload, family, tiredness, and more as an excuse not to do the thing you really want to do. It's probably just nestling under the surface, but how do you make the most of that opportunity when it arises? Now, this is very much my personal experience. I had always been drawn to the entertainment industry, and I'd organised lots of corporate events and promotions when I ran my PR and marketing consultancy. Indeed, I set up Funny Women in 2002 following, I shall call it a polite exchange with a client who was a misogynist comedy promoter. When I questioned why he never booked any women to his club, he told me that women aren't funny and that there are no funny women. The light bulb moment followed soon after, and the rest is history. Funny Women is now my life's work, and I have built a nationwide and an increasingly global not-for-profit community for women to perform, write and create comedy, with the Funny Women Awards at its heart. I'm very proud that we managed to complete our 17th competition this year, despite the restrictions of lockdown. The work we're doing tonight and we do in the industry as HERlarious came out of running workshops as for businesses, and many of the tricks of the trade that we use in comedy can actually empower you in your professional and personal life. So that's enough of me, and I'm more interested. It'll be more exciting if I introduce our two amazing inspirational women speakers tonight. First off, I'm going to introduce you to the wonderful Monica Gaga, who I did a little bit of research with both of them before these events, and I asked them about their biggest challenges and what they're most proud of. And Monica said that her biggest challenge during lockdown was allowing herself to rest. I identify with that. And when what she is most proud of is her ability to adapt and grow, capturing the essence of improv and reimagining it online so I can continue to play and work online. I have done a bit of work with Monica, and she is a very special person. She's a British black-born African queer improviser, facilitator, host, performer and producer. She trained in the community theatre at East 17 Acting School, and her boundless love for improv stems from time spent at Second City in Chicago. She'll be leading you through a few exercises aimed at improving your performance. I believe that is correct, is it not, Monica?
It is correct. Hello, thanks for having me. And thank you to everyone for letting me into their home.
Over to you, Monica.
Hello, I am Monica Gaga. And if you're just worried about like, oh, is that her name really? It's written on the screen, so it has to be true, right? Yes, improv. Improv started off as like a hobby for me. I was going in from primary school to secondary school during the summer holidays. My grandmother, who decided that I needed to do something during the summer holidays rather than just sit and watch TV, she signed me up to my first set of drama classes. I was just like, I don't want to go. Why you force me to go here? This is my worst nightmare. Okay, fast forward, she's booked this. I've agreed to go because we listen to our grandmothers. Well, I do anyway, and I still do. I was going to say I did, but I still do. Fast forward. She takes me there. My grandmother, a white Russian woman, I'll tell you the story later. We haven't got time for that. Takes me there. She dares to talk to, I was about 11 years old, dares to talk to another young person. So I'm just mortified by that fact of like, my nan's brought me here and you're talking to other young people. I'm a young person and I'm supposed to just exist on my own without any adults. That was in my mind anyway. 2 weeks later, I had such a great time. I never knew drama was something that I wanted in my life. And now it's something that never left. And I didn't know it at the time, but we was doing improv. We were improvising. We were making up stories without scripts. We were playing, but we're just listening to our intuition. Things that as I went through my life, I decided that, oh, this is fun. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. Then it became a hobby. And then I was just like, this is not a hobby anymore. This is my passion. And not only is it my passion, but this is something that I'm paid for. So this is my career. This is my work. I'm not sure if that speaks to anyone else out there, where something just starts off as an interest, turns into a passion, then turns into your career as well, which is a massive part of my life. So that's why I'm so glad that Funny Women and NatWest has brought me here, so that I can share the joy of improv that I use in my personal life and that I use in my professional life too. The things that we need to think of in improv is play. So I'm going to take you through play. Play is such a big part of my life, and hopefully by the end of this couple of minutes, maybe can reintroduce it to be a little bit more of your life as well. When we're younger, we learn through play. We learn from touching. We learn from putting things in our mouth and exploring, seeing what works, what doesn't work. As a child, me as a child anyway, I couldn't walk, but I kept going for it. I kept falling down. I kept going for it. As a baby, I wasn't afraid of failure. All I saw was success. That was the only option for me. The same when we're in the playground and when we was younger and we're playing games, we never think, oh, I want to play like I'm in a spaceship, but there is no spaceship, so I can't do that. No, you make what it is. You make it there. So that's why we're going to bring play into our lives. So you're talking, you're just like, great thing, Monica, I'm pulled in. You've obviously got some passion about this. I'm not sure if I'm loving it or if I'm finding you annoying at the moment, but I'm staying here. But rewind, what exactly is improv? Okay, improv is that moment when you have no script. You're on stage, you have no script. We're playing with either one or more people on stage, and we're going with the flow. We're having to make sure that we tap into what they're doing and they're tapping into what we're doing. We improvise all the time. It might be with, and Lynne mentioned sourdough. It might be when you're baking and you get this recipe and you're just like, this looks fabulous. And you look at the recipe list and you're just like, okay, my house is not the cupboard of a supermarket, so I don't have any of these things. Do we stop? Maybe we do stop cooking, or maybe we just improvise. We work with what we've got. So that's what improv helps you do. It taps into working with what you've got, because you've got all the tools that you need to succeed, but you've got to give yourself the space to do that. So in improv, we need to think about play. So let's take the P of play. Play is about presence. So one is being present in the moment. It's just truly being like, I'm doing this one thing or these set of things, and I'm going to focus on that. How often do we not have that? How often are you doing one thing but another thing, and then you're downloading that thing and you're hoping that all these spinning plates are going to stay up? Let's really hone in. If we really want we're going to have success, we're really got to have that focus. We're aware of the things that are going on in our lives, but we just really got to have that focus. So we've got to be present in the moment. So as I said before, we've got to be aware of the things that are going on in our lives. What I like to do before I'm going into to facilitate a workshop or go on stage is just to check in with myself. I definitely see myself as just like a can of soda, in the fact of like, I'm just like, I'm always ready to go. But really, let's check in with who we are as a human. So I like to do a little thing called Rose and Thorn. So Rose is something positive that's been going on maybe in your week, or maybe in your day, and Thorn is something that's not so great or you wish you could change. So really checking in with yourselves. So I've got a big meeting coming up. I've got a big performance. I've got a big day ahead of me. Before I start, let's just check in with myself as a human. Let me just take a deep breath. Let me just clock where I am. Yeah. And let me just check in with myself. So if I was going for today, I might go, what is a rose for today? The positive thing for today for me is that I had a lot of work to do, but I got through it. I've got through a substantial amount of it. Okay, my thorn for today is actually I've got quite a long to-do list, and maybe I've said I've said yes to too many things and not thought so much to the future. So that might be something I need to just check in with myself. So if I've got some tension in my shoulders, or I'm feeling a little bit like anxious, oh, let me just put a name to it. So really check in with yourself. And I give you the opportunity. Oh, somebody else intrigued about my Russian grandmother. Well, see more of our events, you might find out about it. Or who knows, I might eventually become friends with you and invite you around for tea and spend Christmas with me. And then you'll have a great time there, and there'll be many stories from the Gaga household. It was from Africa, who would have thunk? So really checking in with yourself and how are you doing? How often do you just take pause and check in with how you're doing? You're looking after a lot of people, you're looking after a lot of things. We've got to look after ourselves first before we can move on to succeed. So even with play, we want to be present. I'm checking in with how am I feeling before I move forward? Also being present, another way to just open yourself up is like, okay, this is a task I'm doing, this is a job interview I'm going for, this is the pitch I'm going to be doing today. Is just be aware of your surroundings, because I'm not saying that improv means that you have to be single-minded and you just got to go straight for it and think of nothing else. No, let's be aware of what's going on within us and also what's going on within the world. So I can't see you, which probably would be quite a nice thing, because if I was just like, I can see you and I can see what you're doing and what you're not doing, that would be like truly invasive. But I'm just going to trust that you're playing with me, and that's enough for me, so I'm going to continue. So let's be present in the moment. A great exercise for that is just naming the things that are around us. So take a moment now to just point at things that are around you and just name it. For example, I'm going to go the M. We've got a poster there, we've got a door over there, I've got some lotion here, I've got a phone here. So just give yourself a moment to just name the things that are around you. Really broaden yourself up, open yourself up.
Hi, I'm Bixby.
And oh, and there's my phone. My phone's just like, I am present and I am here. So open yourself up. When I'm in a presentation, I've got on lockdown. We know that you're prepared. We know that you've got it within you. You've got all the tools there already. But life does not always go to plan. So being just really aware of trusting in yourself and your preparation, you've got all the tools, but being really aware of the things that are around you is going to help you connect to people, because other people are going to be aware of what's happening as well. So for example, you're doing this great presentation and then all of a sudden a poster will fall from the on the wall, or maybe someone you're doing a presentation with, maybe they've forgotten to put their phone on silent. We're not the case of like we're machines and we just steam through that. We're aware of it. We take in what's going on around us and we move forward. And having that focus to just be in the present, I'm doing this one thing, I'm going to take it on board. So you've done that thing where you just point at things that are around you, a grounding exercise. Now let's just really just like warm up our brains. I want you to point at something. So have something in your mind. So I've got a little craft house there. So I want you to point at it, be aware of what it is. I know what this is, and then go to your next thing. You don't have to pick it up. I'm just picking it up for an example, and name the last thing you just saw. So I might go birdhouse, and then I might go bottle, and then I might go notepad, and then I might go phone. So all of the last things that you've had, you've last seen, I want you to just name all these things there. Just be present, be in the moment, be super focused. So often, like I said before, we're doing so many other things. Just do that simple task. That simple task is to deliver your pitch. That simple task is to go into that interview and just present yourself. You've got all the tools already. You've checked in with yourself. You've done the rose and thorn. You just want to be super aware of the other things that are going around in the room, so you can go with it. Because we want to play with it. Like, you're in it because you're passionate about it. You're in it because you love it. And to have that intuitive play, you've just got to be so in the moment. So there we are. We're present. Let's go for the L in play. Listen. Listening, listen. It's a simple thing for communication, but and I'm projecting here, but it's something that I feel like I can often forget, especially when I get so enthused and I get so excited. Can forget to listen. Can forget to listen to yourself, your intuition. You can forget to listen to the other people. So for example, you've gone into a meeting, you've given a pitch, the company or the client are just like, oh, I love you, but this is the kind of thing we're looking for. Are you truly listening to that? Because you've given over what they need. Are you truly listening what's going on? And improv is about that as well. So if we're improvising because we don't know what's going next, let's go with the presentation. You know what's happening with your presentation. You don't know what the questions are going to come to you next year. So listen, really be in the moment and listen. Let's go for the A in play. Amplify your team. Your team might just be you, then you've got to amplify yourself and you've got to big yourself up. When I'm on stage and I'm performing with other improvisers, like I said before, we haven't got any script. But what I see one of my roles is to make them look good. And if they're making me look good, I'm making them look good. We together as a company, a cast on stage, we're making each other look good. Take that into your company, take that into your family, take that into your life. If you're there to make the other people look good, they're there to make you look good. Woo, we've got that strength there. And last but not least, the thing that we use so much in improv is the concept of yes and we spoke about it, Lynne spoke about it a little bit before, of the possibility that yes opens. So in improv, because we haven't got any scripts, we always say yes and what does yes and mean? It means accept and build. It means you're going to give me something, or the universe is going to give me something, or my client or my team's going to give me something. I'm going to accept it and build upon that. Yeah, I'm not going to go, oh, this might not work. I'm just going to go, yes, how can we work with this? Because sometimes your first idea is not always the best idea. But if you're willing to just go for it in a safe space and you're willing to go, do you know what? I might fail, but I'm open to the idea of failure, then you can truly unlock the success. You can truly unlock that being one step ahead of others, because others are playing it safe. We're listening to ourselves. We're intuitively playing. So definitely think about this when you're within your work, within your life. Think about play. Think about being present. Think about your presence in the room as well. Think about listening to yourself, listening to what others are given to you as well. Think about amplifying your team, because then they can amplify you too. And think about the possibility of saying yes, and accept on what the universe has given to you, and then building it. And some of those things, just like what's going on in the world at the moment, we didn't know that we're going to be home working. What I said yes, and I'm going to accept this and I'm going to build upon it. It does not mean just saying blindly yes to anything you want. It's accepting the reality and building upon that. You have all the tools, as I said, within yourself. So truly listen to yourself, and you also will be able to play and improvise on stage, just like I do, but in your boardroom as well. Thank you so much for listening and going along on the ride with me. Perhaps you might want to take an improv class and try out. Who knows?
I'm sure it can be arranged, Monica. Absolutely fantastic. So much to unpack from that. I love your rose and thorn exercise. I think I've forgotten it, and I will. That's reminded me, and definitely got to do that. I'm really. I wanted to ask you a question, actually, and if any of you have questions, please put them. We will get them. We have a wonderful comment facility. Lots of people still want to know about your grandma, but there we go. Not going to reveal. So, but one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I'm a very much a winger, and I sometimes think I improvise too much. Where does the improvisation stop in theatrical terms? And where do you check yourself and think, right, okay, now I've got to revert to something I feel comfortable with, or I know works? So what is the point? What is the tipping point?
I feel like if we're always working on improving self, we're always looking at, because what we're doing is intuitive play, and it's got to start with us. So if you've got a strong foundation there, I feel like you say winging it, but you're a very established, experienced person. So your winging it is actually just you listening to yourself and you picking up on all the different experiences that you might have had in your life that know actually what is going to lead to something being successful, and what is going to lead to something maybe not being the way I want it to go to. So what I say actually is, as long as you've got that foundation in there, and we're always growing, we're building upon ourselves, we've got the power to improvise. So you won't ever be winging it too much, because you're just listening to your experienced self.
It's like comedians who do material. They know their material so well. It's in their brain. And even if you're speaking, if you're having a meeting and you're an expert in your field, it's about knowing that you know it and trusting it, isn't it? And then you've got that power to, I think we spend a lot of time worrying too much about what we're going to say and how we're going to look. I mean, this environment is it's a very strange environment, to perform in. I mean, talk a bit about that as a performer. I mean, that's quite an interesting question. How do you feel when you're performing?
Well, performing online or just performing in general?
No, online.
Oh, okay. So first I was just like, do I want to let people in? Because I was ready to be the Monica Gaga that I take outside and I put myself together, but do you want to come in to see what the Monica Gaga is inside? And I go, do you know what? Yes, because the foundation is me. I've done that work already. Let me improvise. Let me take those skills from improvising, which really means adapting. I'm so used to change because I can make some plans on stage, but then my scene partner will say something completely different because they've had different experiences, and I'll go, oh wow, this is where we're going. I'm gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna go with the stream as well. So initially I was afraid. And then I was just like, I'm an improviser. I speak about being in the moment, being present and going with it, not being afraid to fail. So I went online and the world didn't blow up. I still was able to communicate. I just directed my camera away from the mess in my home. I orchestrated my set. I got some lights, and the show will go on.
I think that's brilliant. I'm particularly loving the very elderly singer sewing machine in the background there, which you did not mention. Have I got another question for you? Yeah, I just want to make to quickly end on this point about amplifying your team, because I think that's so important in theatrical improvisation, that whole thing of making everybody else look good. And I love that analogy that in a working environment, you need to do the same. I think lockdown and the circumstances we're in has it made us more generous to each other? Are we kinder to each other?
I think we are kinder to each other, and we are a bit more patient as well. We're kinder to each other. I'm not sure if we're kinder to ourselves, because, for example, you all of a sudden overnight you're working from home. Your home is not a conference center. Well, not many people's home. Some people are. Your home is not a studio, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, how can I do this? I have a child. I have a dog. I have I don't know, a spouse, which probably is more trouble than the child and the dog put together. How am I going to move forward? But actually, our colleagues have been really kind to us. They say, do you know what? I'm aware, and I'm speaking to this imaginary person that's out there. I'm aware that you are in your home. I'm aware that your kids are working from home in there. I'm aware that you've got a dog, and dogs sometimes bark. So we're gonna afford you the fact that we're gonna give you that space, because at the end of the day, we want you as a person. So I think we are being a bit more generous and kind to other people, and I think we need to make that a full circle, that we're kinder to ourselves as well, and we give ourselves a break. Because as long as we're prepared and can do all we can do, like, you're still going to go onto the BBC and your child's going to come running through the door, and then your partner's going to go, no, Daddy's online.
Monica, fabulous insights. We'll bring you back at the end. I'm going to say goodbye for now, and join us at the end for some. And if anyone else got any other questions for Monica, save them up, and we'll try and find out more about the Russian grandmother at the end. So for the time being, thank you very much. And now I'm delighted to introduce Sophie McCartney. Sophie, in my 2-question test, said that her biggest challenge, and I'm sure a lot of people will identify with this, has been homeschooling non-compliant small people, one of which may well pop up during the next 20 minutes, and realizing that she's actually as thick as 2 short planks. No, she's not. No, she's not. And what she's most proud of is keeping it all on brand. And I'm very pleased. She said that she's most proud of her winning our best web series, which was a public nominated award in this year's Even Went Ahead 2020 Funny Women Awards. So I put that really badly, but you know what I mean, Sophie. Sophie, for those of you who don't know, is known as being tired and tested. She's a 30-something parenting vlogger turned viral comedy mum with over 1 million loyal social media followers. Sophie is also the winner of the 2020 Funny Women Awards, Best Web Series. So I will say no more and let her do the speaking. Over to you, Sophie.
Thanks, Lynne. So yeah, I just want to follow this up with just what Monica was saying about, let's all be very generous and kind, especially if children come running in, because I am sweating with the absolute fear that my two are about to come barreling in at any second. They've got iPads in the kitchen and they've been promised ice cream. But I don't know if that's going to hold. So I'm going to just put an apologies in advance. And my husband isn't home to do that swoop of the partner to take them out and say, Mommy's online, leave her alone. So I'm just going to be, if you see my hands doing this, that's what's happening. I'm just pushing away two very small children covered in chocolate, requiring a charger for their Apple devices. So yes, thank you, Lynne, to that very lovely introduction. So I am Sophie McCartney, aka Tied and Tested, and I kind of fall under an umbrella of different things, but I am probably, first of all, a online comedy content creator, a comedian, I'm a writer who happens to be a mother of, as previously mentioned, two small children. I predominantly create funny videos for my social media platforms. I guess that's my day job. And I work on Facebook, I work on Instagram, I dabble in TikTok, but I think I'm potentially 20 years too old for it, just putting it out there. And how I kind of came to do what I was doing something very different to what I do now. I was working in public relations and marketing, so not too similar to Lynne, and I'd found myself in a position where I'd already had one child. I was pregnant with another somewhat noisier child, and it wasn't really a viable option for me to carry on working in the environment that I was working in. Flexible working wasn't as kind of newsworthy, I guess, as it is nowadays. There's lots of campaigns for flexible working for mothers, and nearly 8 years ago or so that wasn't so much the case. And I just found myself in a position where it wasn't particularly easy for me to do my normal day job, and it wasn't overly cost effective for me to have two children in nursery and to do the job that I did. I wasn't seeing my children, and I was bringing home about £100 a month. So I had to have a little bit of a rethink of what I was going to do. So I decided to quit, stay at home mum, and I quickly got bored of that. Love my kids, love them. Just that's my disclaimer in there. Love my kids. But I was a creative person. I was used to running meetings. I did in work. I'd do presentations. I would do creative writing, and I would do all of these things that suddenly I wasn't doing anymore. So I decided to use that creative part of my brain, and I started a written blog, and that went well. And then I was kind of very nicely bullied / pushed into doing a vlog by one of my friends, and I decided to do an Ed Sheeran parenting parody, and I did that, put the first video I ever did, and I put it online, and it just exploded. It went super viral. It had about 25 million views on it. I was just like panic eating crumpets in a kitchen going, oh my gosh, what have I done? And for me, that was my pivotal moment. That just completely changed my direction in life and what I did, because from that point forward, I worked online. I was on a screen and I was talking to thousands and thousands of people every week, and I was going to have to suddenly just do that as my job and get on with it and make the best of it and really kind of exploit it for all of its worth and what that could do for me in my career. So I very nearly didn't put that video online, and I very nearly didn't do it because I was very worried about what people might think of me. I was worried that people might think that I was daft. I'd done this song. I wasn't a great singer. I'm not a great singer. And I was listening to it and I was like, oh my gosh, the sound of my voice. I didn't feel comfortable with the video, but there was something in me that went, well, do you know what? Just put it out and see what happens. And I did. And then, as I mentioned, all of that happened. And I was then able to turn kind of my mum life into a career. So what I wanted to talk to you tonight about was, I guess, some of the learning curves that I've gone on along my journey of my online life, and how I think that could potentially help other people feel more confident online and presenting themselves. And I appreciate not everybody here is in social media or wants to do social media. Some of you might have your own small businesses. You might just be looking for a bit of a confidence boost when you're doing your Zoom meetings. As everyone's been saying, the world has changed so much since where we were this time last year. You know, I think one of my friends told me about Zoom about like a year and a half ago, and I was like, oh, what is this Zoom that you speak of? I don't trust this newfangled technology. Now everyone's on Zoom, aren't they? And it can be a bit daunting and a bit overwhelming if you are not used to having to suddenly project your face in front of lots of people. So hopefully I can help you feel a little bit more comfortable in doing that, because after all, it's just communicating as we would do if we saw a person in the street or if we saw them in the shops. I mean, a little different now because now we have to be 2 meters away from them. But back in the olden days of this time last year, you know, you would talk to somebody and it comes naturally to you because we are all naturally communicators as humans. And I think sometimes we can see a screen as a barrier to communication, and actually it doesn't need to be. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, your voice. And I think if you ask a lot of people what they don't like about themselves when they see themselves is their voice, it's how they sound. And you go, is that how I actually sound? Ooh, like, ooh, and you cringe and you can't stand the sound of your own voice. And I still don't love mine, I have to say. My husband's also not too partial to it either. And my kids don't listen to it, so it doesn't really bother them at all. But there is a kind of a nag, and people think, oh, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. And if you are, you know, if you're on your Zoom calls, or if you maybe want to do something on social media, that might be something that you are concerned about, and that might hold you back a little bit. So a few little tips that I have for getting used to your own voice is that you need to hear yourself more. So I will always talk to myself. I'll be in the shower and I'll talk to myself. On the toilet is a great place to talk to yourself, and just get used to just hearing yourself out loud all of the time. I also quite like to record myself. So if, for example, you are writing a presentation and you know that you're going to have to be on Zoom and you're going to have to be presenting this presentation, I would record voice notes to myself. I would say it out loud and record it just into your iPhone. You don't need like a fancy dictating machine or anything, just into your phone, whatever you've got, and just record yourself and listen to yourself back and the way that your voice sounds, and familiarize yourself with certain traits as well. I know I do this a lot, and I used to do it when I was presenting things back in my PR day. But if I was nervous, I would maybe say like particular words over and over. So I'd be like, obviously. And it's not until maybe you hear yourself back saying certain words and certain sentences that you realize that you do certain things. So I think it's really useful to record yourself and listen to it back. Another thing that you can do, which I now do mainly for speed, but it's either like WhatsApping or texting just friends and family, and I'll send a voice note. It's quicker. And that's another good way of just getting used to putting your voice out there and being familiar with it. The second thing is people just don't like to just see what they look like. We're not used to it. It's not something that we would normally do on a daily basis. We're not used to staring at ourselves and critiquing ourselves and being like, oh, is that what my nose has always looked like? And do I have to kind of change my angles? It feels uncomfortable unless you're, you know, particularly narcissistic or you're a supermodel. You generally don't quite look like looking at yourself. But again, start recording yourself. Just send little videos of yourself to your partner. I mean, they can be of whatever they like. Just make sure that, you know, your iCloud is secure. It's up to you. But, you know, just start seeing yourself and, you know, being familiar with the certain way that you move, or the just little things. Things that I like to use as a bit of a kind of a bridging gap into putting yourself out there fully. So if, for example, you wanted to get into social media, you wanted to make videos, or you wanted to maybe record promotional material for work, and you're not quite sure how to do that, I like Instagram stories. I think that they're a really good way of getting yourself out there kind of slowly and testing the water. They're only up for 24 hours. They can be 15 seconds. They're just a really nice, quick way of getting used to filming yourself and putting content out there if that's what you wanted to do. Some tricks for appearance. It's all about the lighting. So if you are either doing something online for work or you are doing something for social media, as long as you got yourself a good bit of lighting, it makes all the difference. And also people want to see your lovely, beautiful face as well. So make sure that you've got some great lighting, and it doesn't have to be a fancy lighting rig or anything. I use kind of softbox lights and ring lights because that's my business. That's what I do. So I've invested in a little bit of kit. But if you are doing things just for work purposes, just put a lamp. So I'm on my laptop now, put a lamp behind your laptop and that will shine the light into your face. It lights you up, it puts you as center of attention. Another thing that you can do is eye contact. So I've got a little green light next to my camera and I'm staring at that green light because I know that my eyes drilling holes into your soul and that you feel more connected to me because I'm looking at you. And, it can be quite difficult if you're maybe reading from something, but I think keeping eye contact helps you feel like you're connecting to the person that you're talking to and they feel connected to as well. So in terms of kind of your equipment, I would also say that your sound is equally important as well to your lighting. So when you're talking to people as well, make sure that you've got good sound because you don't want anything that you're saying to get lost. In terms of preparation, I like to be quite prepared for what I'm doing online, and I think that helps you feel more confident. As Monica was saying, you can trust in yourself, improvise. And if you know 100% what you're talking about and you feel confident, then absolutely go for it. But there are some other things that I do. I'll have some cue cards. I'll sometimes have some Post-its with just some bullet points on that I want to talk about. There are teleprompting apps as well. I don't really use them because I haven't quite got to grips with them and people can see your eyes moving. But if you were maybe doing a presentation and you were a little bit worried about things, there are teleprompting apps that you can use that will kind of type your scripts in or type in your bullet points and they'll flash up. So things like that are really helpful. I have a very quick trick that I want to show you about how I remember scripts. And this can just, again, be really, really helpful if you are doing something and you want to look like you are doing something off the cuff, but actually it's something that you have prepared and you want to come across as super confident. So how I remember a script is I will have a paragraph written out of what I want to say, and then I will write down the first letter of every word in that sentence, just the first letter with all the punctuation in exactly the same way. So if I want to write, hello, my name is Sophie. I don't know if you can see that all that well. Let me see, I can't see myself properly to see. So I would say, hello, my name is Sophie. Now, there's something, I don't know the science, and I can't explain the science, but if you Google it, you might be able to find it out. But there is something in the fact that you can pick up and it becomes more ingrained in your mind because your brain automatically fills in the gaps. So it says, oh, hello, my name is Sophie from those letters, and it goes into your brain. And I can memorize a script, like a 15-minute script. I can have it down in about 5 or 10 minutes completely if I write it all out in that way. So that's just a little tip for you there. I also think that passion and humor can really help you present yourself well on screen. If you believe what you're talking in, it's easier to express yourself passionately. You'll feel less nervous and people will see that and connect better with you. Now, admittedly, that can't always be the case because I used to have a job that I absolutely hated and my presentations were the most dull, boring things. And I found it very, very difficult to feel passionate about that. But the way that I got around it was that I would find ways to inject a little bit of humor into what I was doing. And that kind of helped me bring what I was doing to life. And I think that can work for you online as well. Another thing quickly is just listen to playlists as well. If maybe you're feeling a little bit apprehensive about doing something online, or you have got a big presentation and you're like, oh, I feel so nervous about it. There's all these people are going to be looking at me in Zoom and you feel quite kind of het up about it. Put on a great cracking playlist and that will really boost your spirits. It can help kind of quash any nerves as well and just kind of put you in a great upbeat place for then going about what you're going to do. And I think just lastly, I'll wrap up because I know that Lynne probably is like, get off. But I think that you can bring creativity and humor to almost anything. And I think it's one of the great things that we can do in life, that it puts ease to a lot of people. It can make you feel better. It makes other people feel better. So I feel very passionately about that. So take a little bit of time out of your day for thinking creatively, go for a walk. Kind of your brain will always be going in the subconscious about different ideas and different funny things that you can add into your work, into your online work. And I just find that really useful. So final thoughts, don't worry about what people think of you when you are presenting yourself online. It's easier said than done, but you just have to plow on and just not really give just a second thought as to what anybody else is thinking. All the fears that you have about presenting yourself online, everybody else does as well. So you're in very, very good company. And sometimes it's actually quite useful to just embrace that fear. It gives you a little bit of adrenaline that puts you on your A game, and it keeps you there, it keeps you focused, and it keeps you in the zone. And I think that being confident online can actually help you be more confident in the real world as well. And that's something that I've definitely learned, because when I can do it, we can't at the moment, but I started doing stand-up comedy, and I would have never done that kind of, 5 years ago or so. But from doing what I'm doing and kind of learning all the things that I've learned through the online world, that's made me a more confident person and more able to kind of get up on stage and do what I love and talk to people in real life as well as online. So that's pretty much it. I hope that was helpful in some capacity.
That was
fantastic. Yeah, back to Lynne.
No, stay there. Don't go away. That was brilliant. Amazing tips. Sophie, you always look fantastic, but, I have got 30 years on you. So, I'll let you off. But you actually kind of answered all the questions I was going to ask, which is really the thing about fear, which I totally identify with that. Feel the fear and do it anyway, really, isn't it?
It really is.
What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
You might be able to see my Dyson behind me, but don't worry about it. It's real life. I love I was going to ask you about the voice thing, and you answered that. I think that's really true. I don't like watching myself back, but I'm not a comedian, or I know I do facilitation and this kind of thing, but you do need to watch yourself.
Yeah, and again, it's not something that you feel hugely comfortable doing. And I'll watch. So for me, I do watch back, because my stuff then goes out online and it's there to stay, and people will comment on it. So I like to go back and I see the comments, and I'll kind of see it again, what I've put out there. But I learn from it, and I'll go, "Ooh, I was very repetitive there." And I know when I've then done stand-up, having somebody having filmed me while I'm doing the stand-up is so much more useful than not, for sure. I can see where the laughs are. I can see if I've moved my hand in a certain way that's emphasized the gag. And so it is really important to watch yourself back. It's just very uncomfortable.
I know.
It's not on nature, is it?
No, but it's never as bad as you think it is. And
no,
you only need one person in your case, millions of people to like your Instagram. But even if you just get one person that says, "Oh, you were great," that's enough, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One last question. What's the best, and this is a tricky one, since we're talking about bigging ourselves up, what's the best compliment anyone's ever paid you?
That I'm funny.
Love it. I like that one.
I always think, if anybody ever goes after my appearance online, I'm not bothered. You can insult me more by saying that I'm not funny or I've got poor grammar. It's like a shot to the heart. I don't care what I look like. I just want to make people laugh and spell properly.
Well, listen, let's bring Monica back in, and then we'll bring Vicky and Amelia in afterwards. So, Monica, so lovely to have both of you on screen now. So, Monica, have you got anything you want to pick up on from Sophie's? I'm waiting for questions, so I'm checking. But have you got anything you want to add?
No, I was just listening, thinking, "Gosh, I should have a notepad. I need to write this down." Don't worry, I'll cite you. I definitely will. Definitely, I love the fact of the idea of recording yourself and listening back to it. Also just getting comfortable with like what we have. Like my voice is my voice. Definitely I can learn to project. Definitely I can make sure that I'm being clear and communicating my story, or communicating the information I want to convey. But yeah, let's just get used to like being me. Let me look in the mirror and be like, hey, this is what I got, and this is what's gonna work.
Exactly. And it's so funny because when I first started doing what I was doing, I would always be in makeup. If I was doing a video, I was always be in makeup. And then for things like my Instagram, if anyone follows me on Instagram, honestly, that like I'm like this. I'm like, no makeup on, my hair's like dripping in grease down my face. A lot of the time I've got knit products in my hair to try and kill off infestations. I just don't care anymore. And but again, that's something that just comes with time, of getting over, okay, well, that's what I look like. And you know what? That's fine. That's me. I'm a human being. I don't,
real. That's what we need. There's too much of the air, unrealistic, the thing about working in this space, which is kind of what we're doing, is this is what it is. This is my basement in my house with my Dyson in the background. This is how it is. This is how I've been working for the last 6 months. But actually, we've all got to, we've all got different. I think that's what I love about it as well, because we actually see people in a different way. I mean, Sophie, you always have lovely, I don't know how you do your background and everything, but it always looks
it's just the dining room wall.
Oh, okay.
just a blue wall in the house.
Okay. Well, I think Vicky and Amelia might like to join us, because they may well have some very pertinent bank-related questions.
Ooh.
I hope they do. Anyway, but let's go to Vicky first. Now are you all right now, Vicky? I think you had a little minor crisis.
Yeah, I had alarms going off.
Oh dear.
I better do that before I come back.
I thought we improvised that rather well, actually.
You did. Timing was impeccable. Well, I was going to say, first things first, I took one of Sophie's points and I put a light behind my laptop because the lighting in here is really dim, so I'm slightly brighter than I was earlier. I just actually wanted to pick up on something that Monica mentioned earlier, and I loved your kind of your explanation really to the winging it. I've never looked at it in that way before. I mean, we've all been there. We've gone, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to wing it. But your actual explanation of that just made perfect sense. And I thought, actually, yeah, even though you are in some terms winging it, you're, like we said, you're using your own experience and doing it. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up. I love that explanation.
So really, yeah. Monica, do you want to respond?
I will respond. I think it sometimes comes, I'm so glad that you mentioned, Lynne. I can't see your Dyson, although having a Dyson is aspirational, so you're just helping it. So I remember being in secondary school, and that was my aspiration. I used to go to my friend's house and actually use her mum's Dyson because I thought it was amazing. True story. They was just like, cool, yeah, you can hoover, Monica, that's fine. But we're not making you do this. But I think we need to change what the face of success looks like. So often there's a certain idea of what success looks like and what being successful is. And the idea of actually, sometimes you will have like a great matte background to working. Sometimes the best space that you can work in is a space where you might turn the camera in a certain angle, wing it, and improvise what you've got, and you might see the Dyson in the background, and that's fine. But I think we just have to be more confident within ourselves of like, what is that foundation there? And it's my knowledge, and it's all the work I've put in, and it's all the passion as well. And what does success look like? It looks like me. So I'm not winging it. I'm improvising, and you're lucky, Vicky, that people get to just be with your experience. So if it was with somebody else, they wouldn't get that. So let's just change the way, like, what does successful look like? It looks like me. It sounds different to what you think it looks like. It looks different to what you think it looks like, because we are all different. So that's why success has to be different as well.
It's such a mindset, isn't it? Really, as well. A lot of our issues are in our heads. They're not what other people see. They really aren't. Amelia, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
I just wanted to say thank you for a lot of useful tips and advice. and little notes with abbreviation. This is what I'm going to take personally, so I think it will help me because when we stand up, when you want to say something, this is a very stressful moment. One of the tips that someone shared with me was the superwomen pose. I found
yes. Yes. Monica, do you want to comment on the superwoman pose?
Yeah, I think I see everything as a performance, and my partner definitely says that. But like, you're turning on now, aren't you? I saw you before. It's definitely a performance, because if you was on stage, you would think, oh, okay, what character am I conveying? The character is yourself. So so that's the easiest role you can ever play, is yourself. And what is the best version of myself? And that is making me feel confident. So it's making sure that when you're performing, or when you're at that meeting, or when you're at that pitch, or when you're talking to your colleagues, you're facing towards them. You make sure that you can, they can hear you. You make sure you're engaging with them, and you make sure your body is talking the things that you're actually saying as well. So if you're what you're saying is, do you know what? My name's Amelia, and I know my shizzle. Like, I got this on lockdown, but my body is saying, I'm a little bit nervous, I'm a little bit unsure. Us as an audience, or us as a person that you're communicating with, we sometimes get really confused. So make it super clear to us. So have that confident pose. So we're just like, I can hear what she's saying is amazing. I'm seeing the strength in her as well. So I'm matching that together, and I'm just like, oh, I'm invested in this person. I'm invested in what they're saying in their journey. So sometimes you've just got to do the physicality work from the outside in. So having that confident, like, I'm going to stand up and really look forward and feel confident in my strong pose, and then hopefully that will help on the inside. And maybe not for everyone, but definitely for you, Amelia, that's a skill, something that you use and it works for you, you say.
Yeah.
What about you, Sophie? Have you got any tips on that? Prepping for presentation?
Prepping for presentation. I just think I'm very much a believer in the fake it till you make it stance. So as long as you project, like, you look like you know what you're doing, and that can come from your that can come from your gestures and exactly your stance, and if your shoulders are back and you are confident and your head is up, and the way that you move your body, you could be dying on the inside, but as long as you look on the outside like you know what you're doing, everybody else will believe that that's true. So
I did have one other question, if I've got time. So one of the things that we're often speaking to our entrepreneurs and startups around is, trying to identify relatable role models. And it's just amazing that we've got two role models here with us today, So my question was, did you have a role model in terms of someone that you kind of looked up to or aspired to, that kind of encouraged you into the areas that you went into?
Well, Sophie is my role model. So Sophie.
Do you know what? I didn't ever realize that this would be something that I'd ever be able to call my job. Honestly, this was something that I feel like I fell into in a really good way. So this was never a plan for me. And I think for me, my overall life goals are very comedy orientated. So I grew up with watching people like French and Saunders and Victoria Wood. So I idolized those people as a child, and that's what I was very much into when I was growing up. So for me, with anything that I do comedy wise, they're always kind of in my mind, but they're not on Instagram every day. So no, it's a bit weird for me in that sense that I didn't have anybody in the kind of sphere that I'm doing, but I would say what I do is very heavily influenced by idols that I have in different sectors, I would say. Yeah.
And last word to Monica. Who's your role model in the last minute?
Last minute. I would definitely say that my family are definitely my role models. I know it's so cheesy, but they was around for quite a lot of my life. And also, there's individual little mini role models that are going around. All's good. We're allowed to have phones. People want to contact Sophie. They're like, I've seen you online. That was my Sophie. I find inspiration in, for example, that woman, that plus size woman that was wearing a belly top, and that made me go, yes, I also am that plus size woman that wants to wear that belly top. It's that it's all the female bosses that I've had that are just slaying it and being super supportive as well. So I feel like I'm definitely seeing those role models, and they might have not even realized it. I might have just seen them on the bus and go, do you know what, you actually are inspiring me. So think of that actually. So when you're slaying it, actually you're helping yourself, but you're also helping others, because they're just like, oh, okay, then this is something, if they can do it, I can also do it as well.
I think, unfortunately, we're out of time. We could have gone on for another round. Have we got anything to say at the end, Amelia or Vicky?
Just thank you both so much. That was really insightful. It was really, amazing.
Absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And if you're watching it back on playback, hope you enjoy it too. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Monica. Thanks, Amelia and Vicky. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.